Hi, I'm Sheila Mcguire. I attend the Christian Center here, and I've been here since January of 2011, and this is my testimony. In October of 2010, I had a massive heart attack. The cardiologist said the damage was so severe that the entire front of my heart was nothing but mush, and I needed a triple bypass. But they wanted to wait to get my heart to heal up a little before I did the surgery, so they sent me home. But I ended up back in the hospital with pulmonary edema. And because I had forgotten to tell them about my not having a thyroid, I wasn't getting my medication, and my organs started to shut down. So within a 2-week period, I almost died 3 times. So at that point, they decided to just go ahead with the surgery. Otherwise, I'd end up in and out of the hospital. So they did the triple bypass. And the surgeon who had done the surgery came in afterwards and told me everything that he had done. And he said, he looked at me and said, "There's nothing more we could do." And at that point, my heart was functioning between 30 and 35%. And then a few months later, or a year later, I ended up back in the hospital because my heart rate dropped down to 30. And every time they took me off the medication, my heart rate would drop down again. And I never could figure out what was causing that. But they were finally able to send me home because they were able to get me off the medication, and my heart rate would stay up. But then in May of 2013, I had a stroke. And that was a very, very dark time for me because I was so frustrated because I'd been standing in faith for healing from my heart attack, and I still hadn't even completely recovered from that. And there I was in the rehab center with a stroke. When I was in the emergency room here in Lawton, they found a brain bleed in the right side of my brain. And because of that, they decided to ship me out to Oklahoma City to the Jim Thorpe rehab up there. And for some reason, the paramedics wouldn't let me drive. So they took me up there, but when they did the MRI in Oklahoma City, there was no brain bleed. And I realized that God did that so that I would be in Oklahoma City, because that is one of the best rehabs in the country. And I was there for a month, exactly a month, from May 29th to June 29th. And unfortunately, I allowed myself to fall into a self-pity party. And that was the beginning of a downward spiral for me. It got to the point where I couldn't listen to my Christian music. I couldn't even listen to my Bible. I couldn't even speak the name of Jesus or call out on him. All I could do was keep saying, "Increase my faith, Father, increase my faith." That's all I could do. Because there I was, 48 years old, in a diaper. I couldn't even bathe myself. And that was the one thing I had never wanted to face, because I didn't want to be a burden on my family. And I had contacted my girlfriend in Michigan because I had made arrangements with her that if anything had ever happened to me, she would help me take my life, because I did not want to live without any quality of life. Well, she came down from Michigan because she wanted to see me first and talk to the doctor before she did anything. And when she got down here and she seen me and she talked to the doctors, she refused to help me take my life, which just ticked me off. And I would lay in bed at night, literally, figuring out what to do. And I had decided that once I got home, I was going to get my gun and take my own life. I even had it all planned out. I was going to put a chair on the back porch and do it back there, because then it wouldn't be a mess in the house for my family. If I was going to do it, I was going to at least be considerate about it, you know? And then I was supposed to be discharged on a Thursday, but it ended up I was discharged on a Wednesday, and that was the Lord's doing, because I got home, and of course the first thing I wanted to do was go to church. And when I was discharged from the rehab, I was released in a wheelchair. They sent me home with a wheelchair because I still was having trouble walking. But when I came to church, I was walking with my walker, not riding in a wheelchair. And I thank God for that. And the people at the rehab said that I accomplished more in 1 month than some stroke patients accomplished in a year in recovery. So God was just awesome working in me, even though I wasn't seeing it because I was too busy feeling sorry for myself. And that night at church, Keith and Sally let me usher that night. And with all the love I got from my brothers and sisters here at the center, and after the praise and worship and everything, by the time we left church that night, I had totally forgotten what I had planned to do. And a few days later, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was supposed to end my life. And I was like, well, Lord, obviously, you had other plans. So that was just a real awesome turnaround for me, because God restored the joy of my salvation that night. And for me, the hardest test of my faith has not been my circumstances or my trials, but it's been time. And then Pastor Paul preached about, if you haven't seen the manifestation of your healing, it's because you don't believe enough. And so that night I went home and I asked Dad, I said, is that me? Is that what the problem is? And then God just started speaking to me about King David and the time distance between when he was anointed to be the king and when he actually sat on the throne, and how even once he sat on the throne, he turned around and was running for his life from his son Absalom before being restored to the throne. And he started speaking to me about Joseph and the time between his vision and being in prison, and then finally being the right-hand man to Pharaoh. And I realized it doesn't matter how much time goes by, because either I am healed, whole, complete, and lacking in nothing, or God is a liar. And if I cannot stand on, trust, and rely on what the Word has to say about my healing, which was accomplished at Calvary, how can I stand on, rely, and trust in the Word for my very salvation? And I decided, I know He's not a liar. I know the God I serve. And no matter how much time it takes, I know I will see the manifestation of my healing, because I am healed, whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. And I thank God that He quickens my mortal body so that I can do things even if I am limited. Yesterday, with the help of Jan and a couple of other people, I was able to get on a horse and go horseback riding. And for someone who isn't able to use their left arm and who has difficulty using the left leg, that for me was a major accomplishment and a major victory. And for me, that was just another way of stepping on the devil's head. And if there's one thing I have come to enjoy, that punk Satan, every time he does something to knock me down, I love being able to step on his head and see that punk get punked, because that's what he deserves, and that's what he's going to keep getting from me every time he tries to kick me down. I'm just going to kick back and punk him back. And I thank God for that. And I just pray that this blesses and encourages somebody to stand strong and to go the distance and to keep pressing forward until you reach that goal, because that's what I'm going to do in the name of Jesus and by His strength, because I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.